Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard. A couple minutes late today. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, and we have a whole lot of good stuff to get to today. All kinds of stuff. A lot of NBA games last night. Of course, we have Thursday night football today. We will not have a show tomorrow, so we'll do our picks for the week today as well. And, you know, one thing that I wanted to start out with today, Rich, as far as the opening rant, is I want to talk about just how great Luka Doncic is, just how amazing he's been. I mean, we weren't on the air yesterday. He had a 60-point, 20-rebound, triple-double with a game winner to boot. And, of course, it was against the Knicks, because why would it be against anyone else? I feel like every great player always has their best game or one of their best games against the Knicks. I mean, Pete Maravich had 60 against them. Jordan scored, 69 against the Knicks one time, I think it was. I mean, it just always seems to be. We know what Reggie Miller did. Tracy McGrady's done stuff against them, like Kobe, everyone. Wilt scored his 100 against the Knicks. Goes back all the way that far. But Luka is a different animal. And it's funny to think that he was traded by the Hawks for Trae Young. Now, Trae Young's really good. Let's not get it twisted. He's an all-NBA type of performer. But Luka is like among the three best players on the planet and is going to be for the foreseeable future. Like, I mean, you're talking him, Embiid, Jokic, LeBron, Giannis, KD. Like, if I was going to rattle off my top 5 players in the NBA right now, not ranking them, just the names: Luka, KD, LeBron, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid. That's 6, I guess. I can't really. To me, those 6 are kind of a class above, and I guess you could throw Curry in there. I mean, he's in that class. Trae Young isn't. This guy is amazing. And when I watch him play, it doesn't even seem sometimes like he reminds me of Tim Duncan in a way, in the sense that it just seems like it's coming easy to him. Like he's not working for it. It doesn't look hard. And guys who are wicked fast, like take someone like De'Aaron Fox, or just physical specimens like a LeBron or a Shaq. I understand it's easy to see visually why it's not hard for them. But Luka is pretty athletic, but he's not like a athletic marvel the way guys like that are. So for him to make it look as easy as he makes it, that just tells you his skill level and his IQ are on another plane altogether.
Agreed. His game is sublime. He not the perfect player. No one is, but he's not that far off. He can get to wherever he needs to get to on the floor. He can make a play whenever he needs to make a play. He does things they're generational.
Oh, yeah.
I saw someone brought up an old tweet by Stephen A. Smith.
Uh-oh.
And it said, the Suns need to take Ayton. Forget that foreign guy. He's nothing.
Smith said that? Oops.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
Don't discuss what you don't know, please. It never turns out well. There's people out there who consider themselves historians, and I know many. And there's people who just clown, and it's ridiculous. If you don't know the game or don't know the background of where people came from and what they've done. This kid was a pro since he was 13.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand I don't put much value, or as much value, I shouldn't say much. I don't put nearly as much value on pro experience in Europe as I do high level college in America. I always look at that with a different scale or a different weighting mechanism. You don't discount it or completely discredit it, but I weight it differently. I absolutely do. And I think it's fair to, because that was a great draft. I mean, the one thing about that is, as great as Luka is, and we both thought he was the best player in the draft, but if you remember, and I still believe this, even though, Luka's obviously the best player of the bunch, it just made sense for the Suns to take Ayton, given what their roster was built like at the time. They had
I
Chris Paul,
understand.
they
I
have Devin
understand
Booker.
that part of it.
There's no reason. It's not like Ayton is a bad player. He's got his faults, but the guy's good and he fits that team. I never would have taken Trae Young over Luka Doncic. That's the one or traded.
That
That
baffles
that I
me.
wouldn't have done.
They
That
traded to do that.
Yeah, that I wouldn't have done. The Ayton thing I'll always defend because at a certain point in basketball, you have to also consider a fit for your roster too. It can't just be the best player. I mean,
The greats fit anywhere.
yeah, I mean, you could always make a guy like Luka fit, but I don't think other than like maybe like LeBron and Shaq, like I don't know that Luka was in that category of without question he's going to be as good as he is right now. Like I don't know that I think everyone knew he was going to be good and great, but I don't know that everyone thought he was going to be like necessarily. I don't think everyone thought he was going to be this great. So I think there was a justifiable reason if you're Phoenix to go with Ayton there. I don't think
And
there's any reason.
I normally would go with the big man on that.
We'll just fit
'Cause
their roster.
You have to have one. But Ayton exposed himself when the flaws in his game when I saw him in college, and they haven't really improved all that much. I will always take the player I feel is going to be great, or the person who can make specific plays over someone who has the potential to be a good NBA player. And that's what I thought Ayton was. He was a good NBA player, potentially.
Yeah, I think the Suns were in a unique position. I generally agree with you. The thing is the Suns were in a position where they had a dynamic backcourt and they had a lot of good role players, and there was a glaring omission that he didn't have a front court guy. And they were otherwise a championship contending team and have been. So
Yeah.
in their situation, I would have done the same thing, even though my evaluation of it was Luka was the best player in the draft. I felt that with the combination of Booker and Paul in my backcourt and the role players we had, if I grab a guy who can really shore up our back end, we could win a title. And they almost did,
Right.
So I understand that line of thinking. Now, if you with the benefit of hindsight, do you do it again? Probably not. You probably like, well,
No.
Luka's so damn good, then sure, whatever. We'll trade Paul, we'll trade Booker, whatever we have to do, but because he's better than both of them, by a lot.
Right.
So you trade one of them. But I don't think it was a foregone conclusion that Luka was gonna be better than Devin Booker. I think we all thought he was gonna be really good, even great, but Devin Booker is a beast too. And I don't know that you can say with confidence in 2018, oh yeah, we could trade Devin Booker because when we get this kid Luka, we'll never have to worry about Booker again. I don't think you could have said that comfortably.
I wouldn't have traded Devin Booker. I'd have traded Chris Paul because Luka's going to handle the ball anyway.
Well, okay, so even that, I don't even know. I mean, the age thing is the argument there, of course, but I mean, skill to skill, I don't think you could have said, with absolute confidence that Luka was going to be as good or better than Chris Paul, like 2-3 years into the league. I don't know that. So I get their situation. The Trae Young thing makes no sense to me.
Oh,
I mean,
well, I know you don't put as much stock into the European leagues as I do, and it depends which league too. The ones in Spain are the best quality, the most quality league in the world, not the NBA. I laugh when I hear people criticize scouts and say, "Well, there's G League teams that can beat some of those teams." No, there's not. But when I film on Luka, I felt it was a generational player. I felt he was the next generational player. And I'd have probably made necessary moves and taken him. If you traded Chris Paul and another asset off that roster, you probably could have got a big back.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
especially to a team
I
that was looking for a point guard that felt they were that close.
I guess I'm looking at this from a perspective of a front office person who has to live with my record, so to speak. Sitting in that chair in 2018, making the decision to trade Chris Paul for a guy who is a rookie, and say, well, this guy's gonna be better. Even if you believe that, to pull that off, it's a lot of professional reputation capital to put on the line. It's safer not to. Like,
Yeah,
no one's gonna critique you for keeping Chris Paul and drafting DeAndre Ayton there.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like, it's just, even if you think, I think this is the right thing to do, but what you're gambling on here, it's like when you're in the poker hand and you're like, I think this guy's bluffing, but I have to put all my chips in to find out, and then I have to hope it works out. It's safer to just fold and just do the do the easier thing. I mean, because it
If
was,
you're,
you
go
know,
ahead.
no, because it wasn't like the path they took was an awful decision either. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I'm not saying that.
Oh,
I
I know
mean,
you're
they
not.
did get to a final,
Right.
but it's the path I would have taken because I felt that strongly about the player. And as someone in the scouting world, I did put my reputation out on it. And I would have, yes, taken him first. Still,
Well, who drafted first in that? That was Phoenix drafted.
Phoenix.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I definitely wouldn't have taken him over Trey Young. I'll tell you that. And
Well, that's just insanity.
it's like, okay, one guy's 6'9" and 240. The other guy's like, is he 6 feet? I don't know. And is he 200 pounds? I don't know that either. Like,
Good questions, both.
6 feet, 200. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. But hey, you know what? That's why they're the Atlanta Hawks, and they've never been good for any considerable period of time, like ever. The last time they were good for a long stretch, they were in St. Louis, and Bob Pettit was there.
Right. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I remember telling you that on draft day, so I stand by
Yes.
my.
Yep. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and take a
I
break.
won't go as far as to say it was a mistake, but it wasn't.
It wasn't optimal.
It wasn't the move item.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We've been talking about this for a couple days. Christmas Day numbers are in for both the NBA and the NFL. Not a lot of surprising, but when you look at them on the page, these numbers are fairly jarring. We'll explain when we get back. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right. So, Christmas Day ratings are in. And I'll tell you something. I look at these numbers and I just shake my head. So here they are. So the NBA has been a Christmas Day tradition forever. The NFL this year scheduled a triple header on the holiday, and I mean, they dominated. And I mean, in a bad way. I mean, 22.9 million viewers was the average across the three NFL telecasts versus 4.27 average viewership across the 5 NBA broadcasts, which, by the way, is worth noting was a 5% increase over last year, which is not a small number, but it's just crazy. I mean, because like these warrant like the who's who of NFL games. The Packers Dolphins game I watched a little bit of. That was a good game. The Packers have been playing a lot better recently. They're in playoff contention. The Dolphins have been an interesting team all year, but these other two games were irrelevant. And the fact that this was so lopsided and you know, it's always lopsided when you talk NFL ratings versus anyone else's, but I would have thought this would have been a tiny bit closer because of the fact that the NBA is so well established as like the thing to do for sports fans on Christmas Day. I mean, this was what is that? 5x beatdown. I mean, this is serious stuff. I mean, it almost begs the question, if you're a major advertiser, let's say you're Budweiser or State Farm or any of these companies, like, why would I just not just go with the NFL? Like, why?
Good question.
Why bother with any other sport?
If you weren't a fan of Broncos or Rams and you watched that over some of the great NBA action,
well,
you're a sheep. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a lot of sheep. There's a lot of sheep in this country, is what these numbers tell us.
Yeah, there are.
Because that's not all Bronco and Ram fans. It can't be. And
well, because that number was one of the better ones. That was like 22-4.
Right.
That number. It was far better than the Tampa Bay game.
And if you're a fan of sports in either of those cities, you had a much better option in both cities on Christmas Day in the NBA. Denver and the Lakers played. Now, I suppose the Nuggets game came on after that Broncos game would have completed, so that, you know, you could have in theory watched both. You know,
well, wasn't the Broncos game the middle game?
It was.
Yeah, there was some overlap there.
Well, the Broncos game, I think, came on at like 4:00 or something.
Yeah, the Lakers game was the.
Well, there was overlap with the Lakers. There wasn't overlap with the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets game was late. That's what I was saying. If you were a fan of if you were from Denver and you're a fan of Denver sports, you could have ostensibly watched both cover to cover.
Right.
But in LA, to your point,
LA couldn't.
No, you couldn't have. You would have had to make a choice. And why you would choose the Rams and Broncos over the LeBron and Luka, I can't answer that.
It's the NFL, dude.
That's the only answer you could come up with.
That's it. They could put on a pay-per-view with killing puppies and 50 million people would watch it.
The NFL is to America what the Colosseum and the gladiators were to ancient Rome. That's exactly what it is. It just,
yeah, except there was more action in the Colosseum.
Well, yeah, people died.
And less TV timeouts.
Yes. Yeah. A couple of years before TV was invented, I hear.
Touchdown, extra point. Okay, quick, go. Kickoff. Okay, go again. Yeah, right. That's not at all sleeping. See?
No, I mean, I absolutely
was wide
love
awake
football,
for all 5 NBA games.
But I was watching basketball on this night. I mean, I did watch some of the Packers game, like I said, because that game was interesting, and both teams have interesting late season storylines that I'm kind of interested in. But I watched 90% basketball. I mean, I watched the Laker game basically cover to cover. I watched most of the second half of the early game with the Knicks and the 76ers. And I watched a little bit of the Warriors game against Memphis, which was not happy about, but hey.
I
But
watched all NBA all day.
yeah, I mean, this is this was eye-opening. Now the question is, now the one thing about this, there's two silver linings here if you're the NBA. I guess three. One is not really a silver lining, but it's I mean, there's smart people running that league.
Bronze lining, perhaps.
Bronze lining. I mean, this couldn't have surprised them that much. They know the NFL's rating numbers. Like this wasn't a shock. The one thing that I think you can look at if you're the NBA and kind of take away from it is, if you're the NFL, the numbers you put up on this night are not all that different than numbers you can put up any other night. So these numbers won't necessarily scream to the NFL, we have to be on Christmas every year. Now, that's not to say they won't be, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they will be either, because these numbers are in line with what NFL games generally do, right? So it's not crazy. And the other thing, if you're the NBA, is at your own ratings level, you did have a year-over-year growth of 5%, which is not a small amount. That's a pretty good year-over-year growth. You're talking
it is. It's very good.
You're talking a few 100,000 additional eyeballs. Like something like 200,000, 150, 200,000 extra eyeballs that you didn't have last year.
Right.
So that's good. But yeah, this was a scary, scary thing. When you look at the numbers just without context, with just numbers on a page, the thought I come up with is what I said before. If I'm a major national advertiser, if I'm Verizon, why do I care about the NBA's 4.27 million when I can get 22.9 with the NFL? Because you have to assume there's a whole ton of overlap. Like, in other words, those 4.27 million, I bet you a good chunk of them were also inside that 22.9 million, the same physical people, same individuals.
Oh, yes.
So, I think my theory on the NFL's viewing numbers and why they're so ridiculous, there's two things. First and foremost is the brevity of the season. The NFL season is a relative sprint. I mean, really, you don't start the regular season until, September-ish, and it's over by February. And so we're talking really 5 months? 4 months? October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, 5 months. And really,
it's 12 months out of the year.
Well, the storylines are, but the games themselves are played in a 5-month span. And for a lot of the teams, it's more like a 3.5-month span. Like, if you don't make the playoffs.
Well, no, because they go full 4 months: September, October, November, December.
Yeah,
so regular season games are usually in early January.
Yeah, so 4 months. So you're talking a 4-month. If you're a fan of a team that doesn't make the playoffs, like let's say you're a fan of the Rams this year, your whole season is contained within 4 months. So that's a big part of it, is each game, because of the brevity of the season and the scarcity of the games, is only 18 versus every other sport plays dozens. In the case of baseball, it plays almost hundreds. You people feel a sense of, I don't want to miss it. There's a sense of scarcity to it. And then the second piece, I think, is it's become, because of that devotion from initially the male audience, I think football has done a better job of growing the non-sports fan viewership demographic than other sports, because it's become sort of a routine and an event, a weekly event at people's households, at sports bars. So those 22.9 million, maybe when I'm watching an NBA game, I'm watching it by myself or maybe with one other person. Most people who watch NFL games watch it in groups. And so it multiplies quickly. And then I think the last piece is the commercial distribution. people go to places like Buffalo Wild Wings specifically for football games. And they sometimes end up watching basketball or some other sport. It is a driver of bar traffic, which of course then multiplies viewership because it's a commercial location housing a lot of people. So that has a lot to do with it. Those three things I think drive these numbers. And I mean, it's a machine when you break it down. It's a machine. And these other leagues, I mean, they're popular. I mean, 4 million in normal cases is a really nice number. I'd be happy with an audience like that. But like, it's, it's just you look at these numbers, it shakes you a little bit. It does.
And the NBA numbers are fine.
No, they're good. I mean, that's what I mean. In regular world, these are good numbers. Like you almost have to count the NFL as its own like universe. It's not, no one else is in their league really.
I mean, the NBA numbers were better than they were last year.
That's right.
But
a lot better, yeah.
Last year they didn't have this comparison to make.
Right.
So the numbers, although better, look worse.
Right. That's exactly right. Yep.
And it's
right.
I knew it was going to happen. Doesn't mean I like it.
Wow. Then going further down, we're getting this data, by the way, from Front Office Sports, which is a great newsletter to subscribe to if you're into this type of stuff. The Thanksgiving Day for the NFL was even crazier, almost double. 44.1 million viewers on Thanksgiving, a 31% increase over estimates.
Well, remember, Thanksgiving, there's no other sports for competition.
Yeah, that's the NFL's day traditionally. But that's just a gaudy number. I mean, that's like a sixth of the whole country.
Even if people aren't watching games on Thanksgiving, the television's on.
Right.
You go to dinner, they don't turn it off.
Right, it's on in the background.
You just leave it on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot of that in all sports viewing, right? Like, I mean, that's one of the,
I don't know, with Thanksgiving Day games and with the NFL, you're stopping to eat, you're doing things, but you're still watching.
Oh, right. But
especially a regular season game in December. If I had to run to the store, I wouldn't be leaving the television on.
Right.
It wouldn't be as, Thanksgiving is one of those must-see viewing.
It is. And I think people generally do, the consumer habits of watching television in general lend themselves to getting up, going to the kitchen, heating something up, grabbing a beer, going to the bathroom, taking a phone call. Like television viewing is not concentrated consumption usually. It's periods of concentration broken up by other activities. That's one of the things you always sell against. If you're selling against television, one of the advantages of other mediums, say radio, is that you generally will have a more captive audience. But these numbers are insane. I mean, 44 million is just, I mean, that's a sixth of the country.
Remember, though, all games were on.
Yep.
To where no matter what you have, you could get them. And that's also a big advantage for the NFL.
Yes,
the
that's
NBA,
a great point.
MLB, the NHL.
That's a great
they're
point.
all cable driven.
That's a great point. You're absolutely right about that. That's huge. I mean, that's a big, big deal because it's not so much the old people who don't have cable anymore. It's more everybody that has random streaming services X. Maybe they have cable, maybe they don't. Maybe they have this streaming service, maybe they don't. So the value of broadcast over the air is actually greater than it's been in a long time because of the segmentation you're talking about.
It's not the older people.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
Old people have nothing to do. They sit at home. They have cable.
Right.
Younger people don't.
That's exactly right.
People younger than you.
Oh, 100%. No, you're absolutely
do not
right.
have cable.
No, you're right. And, for years, it was the value of the broadcast networks versus cable when it was basically just the two was the older people that didn't have their fixed budgets. That was the argument. Now, to your point, it's exactly the opposite. It is the younger crowd that has 6 streaming services but doesn't have cable. And those streaming services, like we were talking about a few days ago, have a lot of blind spots when you're talking about sports. So to your point, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. Those broadcast networks have huge value to the NFL viewing numbers. Enormous value.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it's uh it's crazy. But
See, which is why I use Sling as a service, because I think it's the most sports friendly.
right, okay.
And for me, having the networks is important. Having NBA TV, having MLB TV,
Now,
having
do you need a cable package with Sling or no?
no,
What do you need? Just an internet connection?
yeah,
Okay. And is it like a physical device or what is it?
nope, it's an app.
So
It comes with most smart TVs,
okay, that's what I was just gonna ask. So okay.
and well, I have a Roku as well. So,
Right, yeah, I have a Roku TV. So it works similar to that then?
mhm.
Okay.
And having the networks is great. Like in this 2 week gap where TNT takes NBA days off, and to a lesser extent, ESPN doesn't do as many games either because of bowl games, etc. NBA TV picks up the slack. They had another doubleheader yesterday. They have a couple games almost every night,
Yeah. No,
and
it's
having those is important to me.
you get the
And
over the air networks with that too?
nope,
CBS,
I
ABC.
have an antenna.
Hmm, okay.
I have a pretty good antenna. It's stuck to my window, and I pick up a lot.
There you go. All right. Well, there you have it. So interesting stuff. One other bit of sports media news that might be of interest. It looks like Amazon is toying with the idea of creating a separate sports exclusive app going forward because they are going to be in on a number of other sports rights negotiations. I have heard that they are unveiling or have unveiled a lineup of sports talk shows. So this would be like the hub for all that stuff. I assume it would also eventually be a vehicle for them to upcharge, people who have Amazon Prime now get all of that stuff. Maybe there's like a Prime Plus type of thing, which is the
Yeah,
sports package, which only makes sense. So Amazon becoming a big player in the sports landscape. And if there's one tech company I think positioned to do it and do it very successfully, it's them. I think they're better positioned for this than Apple or even Google. I think Google with YouTube TV is positioned decently, but the thing with Amazon Prime, probably, if I was going to guess, I bet you close to a third of the country has it. You know what I
mhm.
mean? So you have a
That might
boatload.
be a conservative
It
estimate.
might be, so you have a boatload of people. If you're going to position this new sports app as an upsell to Prime, you have a boatload of people who are loyal, regular customers that if you price it right, and I'm sure they will, you can convince a lot of them to become instant subscribers. That's why Disney Plus was so successful out of the gate, even though they're relatively new to the streaming game. They were Disney. They had all that intellectual property, all that customer data from all those decades. Yeah, so and they had everything people wanted to watch. At the end of the day, Disney had Star Wars, they had all the classics we all grew up on. Like, like that's the only streaming service I subscribe to. And it's purely for those two reasons. Sometimes I
Yeah,
want to be nostalgic and watch an old Disney movie from my childhood, and I love Star Wars. And they have them both.
right.
Like I don't need anything else.
The only thing I subscribe to outside of Sling is ESPN Plus.
Yep. I've thought about that in the past.
The 30 for 30s are amazing. Every documentary they've made is there. Their plus programming is pretty good. Chris Berman still rocks prime time every Sunday.
Oh, Chris Berman's the man.
They have 1,000 NHL games every year,
See,
every out of market game.
I could get ESPN Plus as an upcharge to my Disney Plus subscription. You can bundle them.
And if you put it with Hulu, it's actually a decent price.
Yeah.
If you have a use for Hulu. Some people do, some people
Yeah,
don't.
I probably wouldn't, but I've considered ESPN Plus in the past. But
The only thing I pay for, I also have Netflix and Apple TV, but they're part of my cell phone package,
gotcha.
and they're free. So
There
I
we go.
wouldn't have them if I didn't get them for free, but I'm not going to say no to
Yeah,
no charge.
free is for me. All right,
Oh
let's
yeah.
let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour with a little. Let's do a little NHL, and we'll take a look at maybe tonight's NBA games. I'd like to start doing some NBA power rankings starting next week. So we'll
Oh,
dive in.
that'll be fun.
We'll dive into that. We'll do that once a week. We should do our NFL power rankings today. We haven't done that yet this week. So why don't we do that? So in hour two, this is what we got on tap. We got top five. We got our picks for the week because we're not going to be on tomorrow. And then we're going to do our NFL power rankings and news you can use. That's what's on tap in hour two. When we come back, we'll quickly do the question of the day and do some NHL. So that's what's on tap the rest of the way. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Division I athletic administrators have entered an era some are calling the Great Resignation and Reinvention. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
History buffs. This tale from Michael Olson's Tales from a Tin Can took place aboard the USS Dale during the opening moments 7 December 1941.
As we left our berth and got underway, the deck force was still engaged in getting ready for combat. Fuller had the job of clearing the deck of all the wooden objects that had collected in port, so Fuller was making his way aft, just tossing stuff like a madman, when he came to the ice cream freeze. Before he could toss it over the side, one of the guys said, "Hey, wait a minute." In a matter of seconds, the lock was broken and the ice cream distributed among the crew. So, what you saw that morning was the USS Dale steaming hell-bent out to the channel while the guys back aft were standing by their guns, eating ice cream and watching World War II break out all around.
Tales from a Tin Can contains 424 tales by 44 sailors aboard the USS Dale, from Pearl Harbor to Tokyo Bay. Order your Father's Day copy at talesfromatincan.com. That's talesfromatincan.com.
For many, a job in one of the NCAA's Division I athletic administrations is a dream come true. But Forbes reports that dream is looking like more of a mirage because Division I employment looks nothing like it did 2 decades ago. A survey from Athlete Viewpoint and Athletic Director U supports Forbes' findings with data revealing administrators are at high risk of exhaustion and burnout. Question for everyone else: are you or are you not feeling burnt out and exhausted from work?
I'm not. I think a lot of people are. I think burnout is a real thing, and I think it comes with the territory with a number of jobs. That's why a lot of these jobs that are high profile, high compensation, and thus high stress are pretty well designed with that in mind to not be long-term jobs. I mean, you talk about coaching as an example, talking about Division One. I know they were talking more about administrators, but generally speaking, you're a coach for usually 2 to 5 years is your average window in most cases. I mean, every once in a while you get your exception, you get your Nick Sabans, you get your Bill Belichick's, but for the most part, these jobs turn over every handful of years. And that is partly, I think, by design because, you just need time off after doing these jobs. I mean, they're brutal. And administrators, high-level administrators at big universities are no different, really. And there's a lot of jobs like that. So the general population, I mean, being a CEO of a major company is a very stressful job. I mean, these jobs do take a lot out of you. They do. So, yeah, I think burnout's a big thing. If you ask me personally, no, I'm not really burnt out from what I do. But, I don't have the most stressful jobs in the world. There's a lot of jobs out there that burn people out because you can only do them for so long.
Oh yeah, I've had my share of high stress jobs. And burnout is a real thing. And I know many people who have gone through it. I know people in the high tech industry who have had breakdowns
Mm-hmm.
from the stress of their job. And it's real. It's out there. I'm very fortunate. I don't have that issue, but it's there.
One of the things I think is important to consider with burnout and stress related to a job is it's not always the job itself in an absolute sense that's causing it. It's that individual's own desire to excel and the pressure they put on themselves to do well often is the greater source of burnout and stress than the job itself in an absolute sense. Like they perceive their stress level as greater because a lot of people put it on themselves with their own expectations for themselves. I mean, I can speak to from experience. So like I put a lot of stress on myself that is not necessarily coming from my job, but when you reflect on it, you think it's coming from the job because the stress you're putting on yourself is to perform at that job. So when you reflect on it, you think it's the job, but then when you ultimately leave that job and you see the same thing happen over and over again 2, 3 times, at some point you come to the conclusion, at least I did, that a lot of that's me. I'm doing that to myself. That's definitely
But
a
if it
factor here
wasn't for
too.
the job, you may not be doing that.
But I would do that with any job is my point.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. Like people who are wired that way, who are self-driven to excel and do incredibly well at everything they do, are going to create that pressure and burnout and stress on themselves no matter what they're doing. That's exactly my point.
Oh, and I did it for different reasons. I mean, I'm a perfectionist. I mean, it's got to be great.
Right.
It's got to be right, and it
Yeah, and those type of personal qualities will follow that person to whatever endeavor they take on.
true.
That's my point.
Very true.
And because I've done it. I mean, that's why I'm saying it. It's me. So, but yeah, then there are jobs that, in an absolute sense, are stressful. And usually, what happens is the people who fill those high stress jobs, corporate leaders, head coaches at big places, high level administrators, high level political types, people who reach those levels generally are the type of person we just described. So now it's a double-edged sword. You're going to put pressure on yourself because that's how you're wired, and the job you now
Right.
have is legitimately pressure packed. So it becomes a bomb of pressure that gets to people. It does.
Oh, it absolutely does. And in some jobs, there's no way it can't.
Right. Oh, exactly. I mean, yeah, certain jobs. I mean, there's a reason the president of the United States ages 20 years and 4. And then maybe more precisely, reverse ages 15 in 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it's like, like if you're doing that job right and you care about it, you're gonna feel that job.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, even a younger guy who became president, like
Right.
Barack Obama,
right.
he looked a lot different 8 years later than he did when he went in.
He did. And then he looked a lot different a year after he got out of office than he did, earlier. Like they reverse
Right.
age too.
Well, there's no pressure then at that point
Right.
because you're done.
You're done.
Now you're making speeches and
Right.
stuff, and
Signing book deals, getting paid a
yeah,
ton of money. You
and
have your presidential pension, all
for
that stuff.
whatever anyone thinks of him, he is a good public.
Yes.
So those come easy to him,
Yes, absolutely.
and that's even better money.
Yes. Exactly.
President gets paid very little for what
Yeah,
they have to put up
they
with.
get a few $100,000 a year, but you do get that for life though.
True,
So,
I'd take that.
yeah, I think I'd be okay with that too. All right, well, there we have it. So that is hour 1. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Well, actually, let's we have a few minutes. Give us the NHL update real quick.
There was only one game last night involving a local team. The Bruins got a late goal and an empty net goal and beat the slumping New Jersey Devils 3-1. To add insult to injury, the Devils have 2 more injured players. The injured reserve list is looking pretty full, and they've got a lot of work to do to bounce back from this. There are games tonight involving 3 of the 4 locals. The Islanders are at home to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. The New York Rangers are down in Tampa Bay to take on the Lightning. And the city of Buffalo kind of opened its roads as well as they can be open, and the Detroit Red Wings made it in. So the Red Wings are playing the Sabres tonight.
There you
And
go.
the road I take to the arena, the I-190, is still closed. So this is going to be fun.
Gonna be interesting. Get that snowmobile out, Rich. Come on now.
Wish I had one. It'd be better on gas.
Where's that? Where are those skates for you? Come on, you're skiing. Come on, ski to the arena. Oh my goodness, unbelievable. It's something else. What were the final accumulation tallies?
The airport and areas around it had over 4.5 feet. And we had 2 here, so it's like a
How did it
2 and
snow?
change.
How did it snow for almost a whole week and you only got 2 feet of snow? That's interesting.
The wind moves it. The snow after the first 2 days here was more intermittent. Some places it stayed. The band went up north, down south, back up, down. The snow moved for 4 days.
Got it. Okay.
And so nobody got hit all at once. It came in waves.
It shared the sugar.
And I'd rather not see that again. I live in the North Towns because the South Towns get a lot more snow.
Yeah.
I have no need to share with them. I will take less every time.
Share the sugar.
And this was too much.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that was something, man. It really was. This is a crazy one. All right, let's take our break. We'll come back. Hour 2 around the corner. We'll open up with the top 5. And like I said, we have NFL power rankings, NFL picks, and news you can use the rest of the way. So back after this, top 5 next. The Gary Ayd Show, hour 2 around the corner here on The Cave. Alrighty, hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard, Gary Ayd, Richard Anselmo. And hour 2, top of the hour, can only mean one thing. You know what that is. Hit it, Jack George.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
Alrighty, there we have it. What do we got for the top 5 today, Rich?
In light of something I thought I'd be talking about in the last break, I'm going to do it this hour. The ramifications of the Russell Wilson contract, which I saw the numbers this morning and they staggered me. Give me your all-time top 5 sports contract screw-ups.
Oh,
The worst contracts in sports.
man. Bobby Bonilla. I mean, from a absolute value sense, it definitely is. Although it's become sort of its own like little game. Like Cohen actually re-signed him to another contract because it's become a marketing ploy. So let's see. Besides that one, another one that comes to mind right away, the Robinson Cano contract was a disaster. The one he signed with Seattle, that was a really bad one.
Yes, it was.
That really did not go well. Jacoby Ellsbury of the Yankees comes to mind as a major catastrophe bust. I think he played like 40 games in like 6 years and made like 100 and something million.
Right.
That was a really bad one. Carl Pavano was another one that signed a weird contract. A lot of these in baseball for some reason. Baseball seems to get these wrong a lot.
They do. Well, save this idea because one day next week I want a football-centric one or a non-baseball one.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, this is more common in baseball.
Baseball's its own category.
It really is. I mean, when I start thinking about these through, every one that pops in my mind is, I mean, I'll give you a non-baseball one. Turns out that the Chandler Parsons contract was not a great idea.
I'll go John Koncak.
John Koncak.
He was a decent 7-footer who was an okay player, and the Atlanta Hawks decided to open the vault for him.
Jerome James is another one.
Yeah.
He had like one good game.
But save some of these because next week we're going to do a
football
plus.
Yeah, we can reuse these. I mean, while we're doing like a general catch-all, doesn't mean we can't use them again.
But baseball is its own entity with these.
Oh, it really is.
There are so many of them.
Another good basketball one, though. I have one other good basketball one for you. When we mentioned Jerome James and Chandler Parsons, what about the contract the Knicks gave Stephon Marbury? Or Steve Francis. There's another, those two. And the whole team, you can almost do like the 2000 to 2005 Knicks. They have their own set of bad contracts.
Both funny unless you're invested in the Knicks. I mean, and I feel for Knicks fans because it's been too many years.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. These are good ones. I mean, I got a football one. What about Matt Flynn? Came in as a backup to Aaron Rodgers one day, threw 5 touchdowns or something, and they're like, "Oh, Matt Flynn, he's gonna be the savior of Seattle. Here's $50 million." Back when that was a lot of money for a starting quarterback. And then, we draft this Russell Wilson guy, the Oedipus for this whole conversation, Mr. Russell Wilson.
Yes.
And
so
now
he's gone full circle in this.
Yes, yes. No more Matt Flynn.
It's bad enough Denver traded for him, but jeez.
Yeah, they gave him the king's ransom too.
To extend him?
Oh.
Wait till you hear these numbers. They're gonna blow you away.
Yeah. There's a lot of these. I mean, you can go on and on. Getting back to baseball, another one that I always remember is Jason Bay.
Oh, I remember that all too well.
No, I don't even like saying it out loud. That would hurt.
Brady Anderson.
Oh, Brady Anderson.
He had 1 year, and they gave him the world, and he bounced around.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Let's put these in some kind of ranking here. I think the top ranked one has to be for me. I think Jacoby Ellsbury. I mean, he literally was like an MVP type with the Red Sox. The Yankees signed him to this crazy long, very lucrative contract, and he does nothing. He's hurt for the whole time, basically, is a total nothing, a total zero. Like, that was a bad one. That one sticks in my mind. Robinson Cano's contract was stupid. That might be the top of the list if I was gonna talk about because some of these, like the Ellsbury one, for example, wasn't necessarily foreseeable that he was basically never going to play again. You know what I mean? That was unfortunate.
Right. At the time, that was a smart deal.
Right.
But did that backfire?
But Seattle should have been able to tell that this guy was near the end of his usefulness, and the couple years he had that were good turns out to be steroid induced. So
right.
That one I think was avoidable in the moment with the information that was at hand at the time that was signed. So I'm going to put that one at 2 for pure stupidity. The Bobby Bonilla one has to make the list purely based off of why would you pay someone for 30 years when you could pay them like a third of what you're going to pay them in 30 years in 1 year and just be done with it? Just the financial gymnastics that it took in your head to make that sound like a good idea. That's way too much randomness for me. Well, if we invest this now and defer this here, we can make this over the spread and blah, blah, blah. No, just pay the damn thing off and let's then invest your money. Let's not be stupid. So that's on there too.
The New York Islanders thought that was a great idea because they did the same thing with Rick DiPietro.
Yeah.
And
they signed him to a 20-year contract when he was a couple years into the league, right? They signed him
and
to a lifetime deal, basically.
And then when it realized he couldn't make that deal, they stretched the payments out, and he's getting paid just like Bonilla is.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, that's rough. And at least Bonilla.
Well, not for him. But...
not for him. Yeah, no, it's true. At least Bonilla, not for the Mets, but for Major League Baseball, had mostly a full career before he fell apart with the Mets.
Yes.
Pietro had a few great years and then just body broke.
Yeah.
So that's
why I think contracts of that length should be few and far in between.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. It depends on the person's age. But it's yeah, I agree. It's dicey when you're talking about that many years. Let's see what else. So we got 3. Number 1, we have Ellsbury. Number 2, I have Robinson Cano.
That was
a bad one. Number 3, I'm going to go with Bobby Bo. The non-baseball one I'm going to throw in here is Chandler Parsons. That was a disaster. I'm going to put him at number 4.
He was decent though before that contract.
He was, but he always had injury problems.
Yeah, but he played a lot more early than he physically fell apart.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Although I'll tell you what, I've heard him on a couple of games.
Yep.
He's good.
Yeah, he is.
He's really good.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to put him at 4. And number 5, I think I'm going to go with Matt Flynn. Why you would sign a guy to a 5-year deal off of one game where he came in against backups as a backup because the game was irrelevant, is beyond me. I mean, I would have liked to have seen that play out more. It would have been cool if Seattle didn't happen to draft Russell Wilson in that ensuing draft and made them play with Matt Flynn. I would have liked to have seen that for some period of time. I think that would have been fun.
I saw that here in Buffalo with Rob Johnson.
I remember Rob Johnson
was the backup in Jacksonville and came in a game and threw for 350 yards. And
yes, I remember Rob
And
Johnson.
so the Bills traded for him and signed him. And they brought in Doug Flutie,
Oh yeah, Dougie boy.
who became a fan favorite, and Rob Johnson really caught the bad end of it. And it didn't deserve the treatment he got.
No. No, but hey,
But
it goes with the territory. So yeah, there's my top 5. So in my top 5, number 1 is Jacoby Ellsbury. Number 2 is Robinson Cano. Number 3, I'm going Bobby Bowe.
oh, you have to.
You have to. Number 4, I'm going Chandler Parsons. And number 5 is a toss-up between Matt Flynn and Jerome James. They're basically the same guy in different sports. They had one good
Yeah.
game, and the team signed him to a multi-year contract because they had one good game.
Jerome James actually had a couple months where he played decent.
Yeah, so maybe Flynn wins
That's
because he played
all
one
he
game.
did
Yeah,
was play decent.
he played okay. Right.
Yeah. And someone decided, let's give him 7 years.
Yeah. Isaiah
Okay.
Thomas. It's not someone. I can tell you who did that. That was Isaiah
Yeah.
Thomas. One of
Yeah.
his brilliant moves.
Oh man. So how's that for an interesting category?
Oh,
that
that's
was
fun.
fun.
That was fun. Yeah, so there's your top 5. And we will do a baseball. We should do a baseball one and a non-baseball one. We should do 2 more of these. All
All right.
baseball and all
We'll
non-baseball.
plan them for next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, that was good stuff. So there's your top 5. We got power rankings coming up. Then we'll do our picks and we'll finish out with news you can use. So a lot of football the rest of the way. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
Alrighty, so let's dive into our NFL power rankings as we have 2 weeks left in the season. So we're heading down the home stretch here.
Okay, and as usual, I get the start.
Yes.
I like it. Number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
They are still ranked second in the AFC, but they've been the most consistent team in football. And the scariest. Number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills, no matter what Nick Wright says, as he has been tearing. He's a Kansas City fanboy. I don't even consider him a professional the way he acts. But he's been tearing the Bills apart, particularly Josh Allen, who he thinks is awful.
How could you think Josh Allen's awful?
Because he doesn't have Mahomes type number. He's a Chiefs fan. I'm a Bills fan. I'll admit it, but I got a lot of respect for what
Well,
Mahomes
Patrick
does.
Mahomes is a
I'm never going to
beast.
call him awful.
Yeah, right. I mean, of course, you know what you're
and,
talking about.
And after he tears this team apart weekly, he'll say, and the statements always end with the words, "in another Bills win." Well, that should pretty much tell you how wrong you are.
Yeah. He's tying his wagon to a failing proposition the way Skip Bayless for 20 years has tied his wagon to this whole LeBron's overrated argument. Like,
Yeah.
at some point, you need to get off the train. When you realize it,
There's a difference.
when you realize the
Skip's
tracks,
doing it for television.
right.
Nick Wright believes this stuff.
When you realize the tracks are ending and where they end is on the end of a cliff, you should get off the train. Yeah, it's going to hurt jumping off, but you might live.
True.
It's like, let's get off this train.
So I have the Bills second, even though they're really, really awful.
Yes. Yeah, they suck. That Josh Allen guy, cut him. We need a new quarterback. A disaster.
Third was hard for me. Do I put the Eagles there, or do I put the Niners there?
Mm-hmm.
I put the Niners there.
I saw the Niners as high as 1 in some power rankings this week, which is interesting.
Yeah. I have the Eagles fourth, despite losing to the Cowboys. Cowboys barely beat them without a guy who's in the running for MVP. So, having said that, I put the Cowboys fifth because they did win.
Yep.
And they looked pretty good doing it. I have the Bengals sixth. I think they're one of the hottest teams in the league. As much as I feel the Vikings are overrated,
they keep winning.
They've won 11 games by 1 score. No team has ever done that before in one season.
They keep winning these games. It is weird.
I'm keeping them at 7th.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
The Ravens and the Chargers between 8 and 9.
I think the Chargers are I'm gonna
go the Chargers because I don't know what Ravens team we're getting with Lamar Jackson out.
Right.
And I want to know when he's coming back. And if his mobility is limited, do you see them getting by the Chiefs or the Bills or even the Bengals?
I don't see them beating any of those teams with or without Lamar Jackson. I think they have a chance against the Bengals. I don't know about the other two, even with their perfectly healthy Lamar. One corollary here real quick. I just want to jump in for a second. If the Ravens end up playing comparable to their normal level of play in these games, that Jackson misses, or God forbid, even better, what's that going to do for his contract negotiations that are coming up this offseason? It'll add an interesting dynamic to it for sure. That's for sure.
It's one of those Aaron Judge deals, though. It really is.
I don't know.
You have to sign him.
Yeah, I guess.
You want to go with Hundley? You're getting a look at what you're going to have.
Right. I guess I've seen this organization be very competitive and win a lot of games with really not good quarterbacks. So I feel like they should have the confidence that they can do that because they've done it many times.
Yeah, but you have a guy who's an NFL backup at best.
Oh no, I'm not saying they would go.
You have to go get someone.
They would either draft someone or trade for someone or sign someone. Yeah, they wouldn't go into the season with just that. I agree with, but I think the Ravens have more leverage here than the Yankees had in the Judge situation. Considerably more, particularly if they end up playing okay while Lamar's out. I think that's an interesting fact. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. All right, so you have the Chargers 8. I guess that puts the Ravens 9.
At 9.
Yep.
And I'm going back and forth at 10. Do I take the Giants or the Dolphins?
I think you got to go with the Giants right now because of health, right?
The Dolphins, I don't know what's up with Tua. If you've been in concussion protocol 3 times in a year, that's not good.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No matter what. The Giants have 6 wins, all being 1-score games. Also quite impressive, and a lot of that plays into good coaching as well. Mm-hmm. But those 6 were in the first 7 games of the season. I'm still going to put the Giants at 10.
Yeah, I think that's. So you said 6 of their wins were in the first 10 games of the year, huh?
7. They started the season 6-1, and all 6 wins were one-score games.
You talk about the Giants or the Dolphins there?
The Giants.
Yeah.
So I have the Giants 10th
Okay.
over the Dolphins because I think injuries could be
a problem.
Yeah. They've got to be concerned about Tua. They have to be.
Yeah, I would think so. All right. Well, I'm going to go number 1 for me. I agree with you on Kansas City. I think they're the best team in the NFL. I just have a hard time seeing a team being better than them. Number 2 is tricky to me because I don't know what to make of Brock Purdy. He keeps playing really incredible, but I don't know how much to believe that. But I do believe in everything else on this roster, and going with the assumption that Purdy can play this way, which is a big leap of faith. I understand that, but going with that, taking that leap of faith here, I'm going to put the Niners number 2 over the Bills on that alone, because if he can play anywhere close to this, that is 70%, 75% of Josh Allen. And then the Niners have everything else they have. I think they're the better team. If
the Niners also have a head coach who's an offensive mind.
Yes.
Who makes these situations work.
Yes.
With decent core.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have certain traits, Garoppolo has them in spades.
Yes.
And Purdy has them as well.
Yep.
And he's got a good head for the game, they
yep.
say.
Yep. So
if you have those kind of traits, Shanahan makes something out of you.
Yep. Agreed. So I'm going to go.
I think they can keep it up.
I'm going to go with the Niners at 2. And I almost put them at 1, but I'm going to put them at 2. That, of course, leaves the Bills to 3. That's an easy one. Number 4, I'm going with Dallas. I think Dallas is really good. I think they're legitimately contenders this year in the NFC. And I think it's going to be a tall task for anyone in that conference to beat them. I mean, I know they barely beat the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, but I just like this Cowboy offense a lot. I love that dynamic duo in the backfield. CeeDee Lamb is a monster. For
a team that was worried about having a number 1 receiver. They do. Yeah. I mean, this team is loaded. So I'm going to put them at 4, meaning the Eagles are 5. 6 for me gets tricky here. I've not been sold yet on Cincinnati, as you know. I mean, they're going to be in here somewhere, but I don't know if I'm ready to put them at 6. I think I'm going to go with the Vikings at 6, purely just based on their record. And I also think the other thing with the Vikings that I look at, they have a trio of offensive weapons that very few other teams can replicate. You're talking about Jefferson, Thielen, and what's that? The running back. What's his name? Cook. Cook.
Yeah, Cook. Yeah. Those 3.
He's a monster.
Oh my God, you have to cover all of them.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that doesn't seem fair. I mean, because Jefferson by himself counts as 2 receivers.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, with the attention you have to pay to him. So I'm gonna put them at 6. I guess I'll move the Bengals then to 7. I'm gonna go with the Chargers at 8. I'm gonna go with the 9 is tricky. I guess I go with the Ravens there.
They got 10 wins.
They do. So yeah, I guess I have to put them there. And number 10, I'm gonna go with the Giants.
So we have the same teams in 10. So
yeah,
that's tough. That's a first.
That is a first. I think we just have a couple things a little slightly different order, but yeah, we have the same 10 teams. I think the NFL is over the last 4 weeks has filtered out. The one team I think is on the precipice for me right now is the Green Bay Packers. They've very quietly really upped their game the last month and a half, and they've won a lot of games recently.
A lot of things have to happen, though, for them to be a playoff team.
Oh, no. I mean, they have to win out.
Lot.
Well, they have to win out, and then they need
Giants have to lose out.
Yep.
Washington has to lose at least one game. There's so many.
A lot has to happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they'll make the playoffs, but
20 of their players have to go to a local park, spin around 15 times, and jump 3 feet. There's a lot.
Red Rover.
There's a lot they have to do. Before we get into making our picks,
yes,
I want to go into the reason what inspired the top 5 today.
Yes, okay.
Russell Wilson. I was discussing this with someone on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
And they had said, well, just cut him.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you cut him, it's going to cost you over $100 million just this year or next year.
Woo!
Just that year, not counting the rest of the way the contract's designed.
Oh, baby.
Well, the salary cap's $200 million. Yeah. So you're going to lose half the salary cap and not have a quarterback. You're stuck with this guy.
Oh, you are.
If you keep him, his salary in 2023 is $22 million. Not bad.
That's not terrible, no.
Manageable.
Yep.
2024, $35.4 million.
Not good.
2025, $55.4 million. 2026.
Wait, how much? 55?
Oh, it gets better.
What?
2026, $58.4 million. Or 2026, $58.4 million. 2027, $53.4 million. And then 2028, 2028, he gets a little raise to $54.4 million.
Oh.
The next 6 years, that's what they're paying out. Sports Track had that information.
Oh.
A friend of mine, a sports maven in Seattle, Matthew McCullough, did all the crunching of the numbers and sent me this stuff. And Matt, thank you. I appreciate it.
Ouch.
He's not always up this early, but he does catch the show from time to time.
I have to tell you something. With those numbers, I almost think that $100 million cap hit next year is like the better option.
Yeah, but that's not, it doesn't finish it. There's still other payments down the road.
But it has to speed it up.
Which equal out to over $150 million more. Remember, that $100 million cap hit covers 2 of those 450+ million years. You have 2 more, plus 22 and 35. So you're probably looking at another $160+ million after the $100 million hit.
Of the guaranteed money portion of his contract.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you build a roster next year with about 45% of your salary cap?
I'll tell you, I think they have one chance, their best chance in this to salvage this, because like you said at the beginning, they're stuck with this guy, it sounds like. I am bringing up whatever's left in my Brinks truck that's not tied to Russell Wilson. I'm bringing up my Brinks truck to the residence of Sean Payton and getting all the convincing hypnotists, everyone I can think of that can convince him, force him to say, yes, I'll be your head coach. Because if there's anyone out there that could fix a quarterback like this, it's Sean Payton. And like, if I'm the Broncos, I'm begging, pleading, bribing, conniving, manipulating, whatever I have to do to get Sean Payton to agree to be my my coach. That's what I'm doing.
Well, looking at their hiring history, Vance Joseph, Nate less than great.
Yeah, that doesn't suggest that they'll pursue that avenue. But I did see.
And do they want to pursue, or does Sean Payton want to be pursued by them?
Well, that's why I'm assuming not. I'm assuming he'll have better options.
He has his choice of jobs.
Right. I'm assuming he'll have better options. But like, if I mean, at some point you can blow him out of the water. Like, you could go crazy and say, we'll pay you $25 million a year or something ridiculous if you really want.
So you'll double the John Gruden.
Right. Like, I mean, I think it would take something like that because
Yeah, the Walton family can afford it.
exactly. What do you care? It's like just sell a couple more TVs, whatever. It's like a big deal.
Hey, they sold me mine.
That's right. But no, seriously, I did see something about Peyton. I think someone asked him a question on a podcast or an interview or something about how he would fix Russell Wilson if he was coaching there, and he entertained the question fairly extensively, which made me think if they approached him, he would at least listen and negotiate, perhaps. Because this guy's a football coach. There's no way he's gonna stay out of football that much longer. I would be very surprised. This guy is one of them dudes, like we were talking about earlier, that just puts pressure on himself to succeed, and this is just what he is.
Agreed.
He was Bill Parcells liked him, so that's all you need to know.
I have an item in news you can use. 2 items, basically, I think will get us through that segment. But one, I really need your feedback on. So can we blow through these picks?
Let's do it. All right, what do we got?
Hey, tonight's game, Cowboys at Titans.
This is a great game. I mean, the Tennessee Titans are without, looks like going to be without Henry, though, so it makes it a lot less exciting. I was looking forward to this game a couple of weeks ago, and now with that injury, it's become sort of seems like a mismatch. It seems like the Cowboys are going to probably kill him.
Sunday, let's start with the 1:00 games, Cardinals at Falcons.
Well, the Falcons have been one of those weird teams that randomly win random games this year. And the Cardinals are another one of those teams that's just not very good, but they win randomly. This is a hard one to pick. It's not an exciting game, but it's a really hard game to get a feel for because both teams are sort of neurotic. I don't really know where the Falcons are home in this one, right?
They are.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Falcons purely on home field advantage, but I don't have a good feel for this.
That's why I went with them. Bears at Lions.
I like is Fields playing? Is Justin Fields going to be in the game? That's the
right now it's questionable.
Right.
I haven't seen a yes or a no.
Yeah. Because I'm tempted to pick the Bears here because I broke my own rule last week and picked the Lions against what I thought was a easy winnable game in Carolina, which, by the way, Carolina actually has a path to the playoffs, if you can believe that. That's how bad that division is. But so I'm not going to.
That's going to be determined this week. So
I'm not going to break my rule again. I don't know how or why, but the Bears are going to win because the Lions, they're the Lions.
Jaguars at Texans.
Jaguars at Texans. I got to go with the Jaguars. They seem to be motivated and playing for something. So I'm going to go with the Jags.
Me too. Broncos at Chiefs.
Yeah, let's think about this one real hard. So are we going to go by 50, 20, 30? Yeah, how much are we winning by? And then I could see this game being over in the first quarter. I could see Patrick Mahomes in the offense coming out, scoring 24 real quick, and then going back to the showers.
I could see that as well.
Yeah, Broncos are not going to win this game. We're going to the Chiefs.
No. Interesting game. Dolphins at Patriots.
That is an interesting game. Division rival. Both teams are on the same record. Of course, the Dolphins are coming in without their quarterback.
With Teddy Bridgewater, yes.
And this game is where? In Miami?
In New England.
No, it's in New England. I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I feel like the Dolphins have sort of had the wheels fall off a little bit, and this exactly feels like a situation where Belichick comes up with some kind of game plan to really give the Dolphins a hard time and put them out of their misery. I think Belichick and the Patriots all but end the Dolphins season this week. I think they win.
And that will be about the end.
Yep.
Colts at Giants.
Colts are terrible. They've looked lost the last 3 weeks.
I think they'll make things interesting for a couple of quarters, and then it's done.
Yeah, I think the Giants' grind will eventually just wear out the Colts. I agree with that assessment. I think they'll be close in the beginning. I think the Giants' consistent grind of running and hard-hitting defense will wear them out. And later in the game, you'll see the Giants rattle off a couple of scores in a row and probably win by a comfortable margin. I got the Giants in this one, probably by about 10 points or so.
Saints and Eagles.
You know, I've had a hard time reading the Saints all year, but it doesn't matter in this one. The Eagles are one of the 5 best teams in the NFL. They're going to win this game.
With a backup quarterback.
Yes.
Will beat the Saints.
Yep.
Talking about your team that still has a look at the playoffs, they're playing another one. Panthers and Buccaneers. Tampa Bay can pretty much put their division away with this win.
They could.
But will they?
So it's Buccaneers and who was it?
Panthers and Buccaneers.
I'm going to go with the Panthers here.
Are you?
They've been playing really good lately, and I don't like what I see with the Bucs. I think the Panthers extend their season. I think they do. I think we go into next week not knowing who wins that division. So I'm going to go with the Panthers in the upset here.
I'm going to stay with the Bucs only because I don't know if Sam Darnold can do this 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I don't know that either, but
last 1 o'clock game, Browns at Washington.
Yuck.
Two teams I have little interest
Washington. The Browns just always find a way to screw things up.
That is the last of the 1 o'clock games.
Okay.
The first 4 o'clock game is not that intriguing, but it now has a storyline. The 49ers at the Raiders. The Jarrett Stidham-led Raiders.
That was the dumbest personnel move I've seen all year. Jarrett
McDaniels.
Stidham. If I was the owner, if I was Mark Davis, I would have marched my fat butt down from my office and fired Josh McDaniels on the spot, walked over to Carr and said, "My bad, your coach was an idiot." And he is an idiot. He was an idiot because he's not here anymore. You're the starter next week. We'll figure out the coach later. Like, that would have taken me 5 minutes. Like, Jarrett Stidham? Newsflash.
He was with McDaniels in New England.
Yeah, I know.
He was there for a while. Their backup is some cat named Chase Gerbers.
So the baby food? What am I getting some
They're gonna have to baby him into the lineup.
Oh.
Stidham's a 4-year guy. He has never started an NFL game.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Barely played. He has a backup that's never played.
What could go wrong?
The Raiders gave Carr 3 years, $121.5 million in the last offseason.
Yeah, the Raiders aren't winning this game.
They're 6-9. They're not yet mathematically eliminated. They could honestly get into a spot at 8-9 if everything fell right. Why do you make this move now? And that was another question I had for you.
I'm not doing that. I mean, I why you do that? Because Josh McDaniels is an idiot. I mean, I don't know what else you could say. I mean, the guy is a disaster. He's been a disaster every time he's been a head coach. Like, he ties his ship to these bottom feeding quarterbacks that, like, he thinks he's like so arrogant. He thinks he's going to turn Jarrett Stidham into Tom Brady. Like, no, there's a reason he's never started the game. It's not because everyone else is an idiot and you're so smart. It's because he's not that good. Hello.
Tom Brady turned Tom Brady into Tom Brady.
Yeah. Derek Carr is a good NFL quarterback.
He is.
He is not the problem here.
And any team needing a quarterback should jump at him.
You don't think the Broncos would like to have Derek Carr?
If they release or trade him after the season, they could save $30 million. Then you don't have a quarterback. And you probably don't have a wide receiver.
Here's an interesting question. If they did that, I think the Jets should be all over him. I mean, I know Mike White has won a little bit of a cult following, but I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback.
Mike White's a backup.
Yes. Yep.
A good backup.
A good backup.
But he's a backup.
But a backup.
Don't forget, Devontae Adams came there because of Derek Carr.
Yep.
If you lose Derek Carr, you probably lose Devontae Adams one way or the other.
The Jets could use him too. There we go. We just import the two of them to the Jets, and now the Jets with Hall back next year, all of a sudden they're cooking, baby.
You want to give up half your draft? Do it. Just do it. Get them both.
I mean, if I got those two, I would give up a couple of number ones and a number two for those two, given what they have around the roster. I would.
Right now, the three teams most interested in Carr are the Jets, Washington, and Tampa Bay.
That makes sense. All three of them make sense.
All three of them make
Yep,
a lot of
absolutely.
sense. Speaking of the Jets, they're in the Emerald City to take on the Sea Hags.
I'm going to go ahead and say the Jets win this game. I think they've looked really bad the last few weeks. I think they have a rallying cry moment where they circle the wagons and reestablish themselves. Yeah, I think they come in and win this game. I do.
Seattle lost me on the loss to Carolina, so I also had picked the Jets.
Okay.
Vikings and Packers. This is one of those games the Packers have to win.
They have to win. They have to win out. And other things, like you said before, have to happen. It's hard to pick the Packers against the Vikings. But to your point, the Vikings don't win anything convincingly. And,
right.
And
they don't have to.
And I'm convinced that if this game is close, like most Vikings games are, that given the weight of what's riding on it, this is right where I think having Aaron Rodgers, even with this team being depleted like it is in talent, makes a difference. I can't tell you how or why, and I can't say this with a ton of confidence, but I just think this is one of those games that the Packers are going to find some weird way to win. So I'm going to go with the Packers.
I had the Vikings. I figure they're going to win in a 27-24 game.
Yeah, they'll be down 22-0 and score 27 of the last 30
because
points.
That's how they win.
Right? But I'll go with the Pack there.
The last 4:00 Sunday game, Rams at Chargers.
I mean, the Chargers are going to kill the Rams. I mean,
it's going to be a home game for the Rams.
Although Baker and the Rams have been playing good since they've been, since Baker's been in there. So it's a different team. I don't want to let the record fool you here, because since Baker's been there, they've been playing really well. This could be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to go with the Chargers. They have more to play for.
That's the reason I did too. I don't think home field means anything to them. I think they play 17 road games a year. But I think they're going to win this. The Sunday night game, interesting. Steelers at Ravens.
That is an interesting game.
Kenny Pickett, very doubtful for this game. Lamar Jackson, who knows?
I'm going to go ahead and go with the Steelers here. I think that they always find a way to play these games. And this is always one of my favorite games on the NFL calendar, twice a year. Steelers Ravens. These games are always good. They're usually physical. It's a rivalry it's one of those weird rivalry games that it means extra to both teams, but neither team hates the other. It's a rivalry of respect because their organizations are built very similar.
Right.
And that's what makes it so compelling. And of course, they're from similar type of environments, both sort of blue collar, rugged, cooler weather cities. Everything about this is just a great watch. So I'm definitely watching this game, and I think the Steelers find a way to win it.
The Monday night game, Bills at Bengals.
This could be a absolute show. I mean, this could be the best game of the week. Good for ESPN. Good for ESPN getting a game like this on Monday Night Football. They don't always get these type of marquee matchups, and it's nice to see. And oh man, I'm gonna go with the Bills here, but this game is gonna be fun. But I got the Bills.
I think the team that scores last wins, and I picked the Bills.
Yeah.
Because despite the fact Josh Allen is really not that good of a quarterback, he always seems to make the plays he has to make.
Yeah, besides the fact that he stinks, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
man.
Terrible, but he wins, according to
he's terrible while being amazing. Yeah. What a joke. What a joke. All right. Well, there you have it. Let's take our last break. We'll come back and we'll wrap it up with news you can use. It's the Gary Ayd Show here in the cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Alrighty, it's time for some news you can use to wrap up the show. What's going on today, Rich?
Monty Williams calls for the NBA to address courtside seating after an out-of-control fan was ejected from the Suns-Wizards game. I saw this on social. Dwayne Rankin from the Arizona Republic had it, and I dug into it a little bit. Chris Paul wasn't sure what the fans said to Monty Williams or what Williams said back, but he said he's sure of one thing. Coach is the most peaceful person I know, Paul said. If you've made him mad, then you're on one. Williams had an exchange with a fan. In the fourth quarter, it led to two fans being escorted out of the arena. A direct quote from Monty Williams: stuff that happens in games. You expect some of it with people cheering for their team, but this was out of control. The referees and arena officials did a good job. I tried to tell the guy to calm down and relax. We didn't want to have him thrown out of the game, but then he just kept going, and they did what they had to do. Now, the Suns' director of security, Max Kayard, approached the fan and was telling him to go. The fan went after him. The director of security, the two had to be separated. And then they, eventually had to. The other security came and they had to leave the arena. No word yet on any actions taken against the fan, but I'm sure he'll be out of there for a while.
Yeah, I mean,
probably a year.
So what is Monty Williams specifically calling on the NBA to do? I mean, like, it sounds like they handled it about as good as you can handle a situation like that.
Oh, they did, but
like, what do you want to do? Like,
he says it's been out of control for a while. He said this is the only vocation when people come to your job and say anything they want to you, and you just have to ignore it. Some of the stuff that's said is just extremely disrespectful. Unfortunately, it ended up with these people being thrown out, but some of the stuff is over the line. Williams wants the NBA to set some higher standards for people sitting courtside. He said it's never the whole front row. It's always just a couple of people that have to ruin it for everybody. But it's one of those things. He said it started from the very beginning of the game. And he said he wasn't the only one being verbally harassed, but a lot of it seemed to come at him. And he had no idea why.
So we set higher standards, whatever that means. So what do we?
I have no idea what that means.
Well, that's my problem with this. I'm not against trying to prevent people who are disruptive from being there. But the methods that I would know to do that involve profiling and work that is disrespectful to the people who are going to be profiled and worked over. Like, because I mean, if like, for example, if I bought a courtside ticket and I spent $3,000 to do that, I don't want to have to answer questions about, my psychological health or whatever other things you would.
Nor will you ever have to. So that's a moot point.
But
because I got one other bigger point I want to get to.
Because that's where
that
this
I
is
really
going.
want your opinion on.
Well, because that's where this would have to go. I mean, how are you gonna
watching the games Christmas Day? It's funny. You can't tell sometimes where, depending on how someone's dressed, where the bench ends and the seating begins. I know those seats right next to each bench are premium revenue, but sometimes you can be a little too close.
But I mean, even that, like, okay, so if we don't sell those seats, like, but like, why should people be denied that type of great experience because of and in Monty's own words, a few? Like that's my problem with all this. Personally, I don't think there is anything else to do other than what they did in this game. When these situations arise, maybe handle it faster instead of waiting for it, maybe have a little less tolerance for the stuff in the moment. But besides that, I wouldn't do anything, because at that point you're punishing good people for a handful of bad people. And I just wouldn't be willing to do that. Plus, that says nothing about foregoing that revenue of those seats. So right. I wouldn't do that.
That's why I think it's a non-starter. But I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
The thing I want to talk to you about, though, and I know we've only got a minute, and I wanted to spend a little more time on this. G League's doing some experimenting. I don't know if you saw any of this that I don't particularly like.
What's that?
They did experiment there with coaches' challenges, and the NBA took it in. Resetting the shot clock to 14 seconds. After a foul or an offensive rebound, it was done in the G League first.
Yep.
The pilot program they're doing now, which the NBA says is their greatest one, is this target score. In 31 games at the G League Showcase, all contests had no timed fourth quarters. Instead, the final quarter was played until one team reached the target score of 25 points.
Oh, no.
Added to the team's total after 3 quarters. Now, that means every game, no matter the score differential, ends on a game-winning basket.
No. Please, no.
I don't like that at all.
Oh, my God, no. I mean, because, well, there's a lot of problems with that. One is what you just said, is like I could be up 20 but going into the fourth, but basically now it's a game to 21 or whatever you set that number at. And so there's that. And then it completely dilutes and removes the joy of a game winner, to your point. And then the last thing is, you think it's a chuck fest in the NBA now. People complain about that now. Imagine the type of threes they'd be taking if this was played this way.
Oh, yeah. Remember the TBT, the basketball tournament?
Yes.
That ESPN does? That's what this reminds me of.
No, please, no. I mean, I guess I don't care that you do this in the G League. If you're just trying to get a few more people in the seat and it's gimmicky because it's the G League and it's really not a draw, I guess it's okay in that. I still don't like it in an absolute sense, but like whatever.
What scares me is the NBA taking these on.
Well, that's what I was getting at. This absolutely cannot be in the NBA.
Now, the G League already does this with overtime games. They do a target score. First team to reach 7 wins.
Right.
But the entire fourth quarter, the basketball tournament, the TBT doesn't even do that. They stop the clock at 4 minutes and do a target score. This, a lot of people don't like it, and I don't see why. I don't see why they're doing this.
No, this is not good. I'm not down with this. Not in the NBA. It's one thing.
They've approached some good things in the G League and made some smart decisions. But A full fourth quarter is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's too
I
much.
can't see this.
No, I agree. I agree. All right, well, there you have it. That'll do it for us. And we will be back on Monday. No show tomorrow. We'll be back Monday. We'll see you then. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.